Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots. All right. How's everybody doing? It is Sunday, and it is time for Kicking It with Kaz. I'm here with my good, trusty, fine-feathered friend, Owl. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Good, man. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Another good day to be breathing.
Of course it is, man.
Every day you're breathing is a good day. It's better than the alternative.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't know. I mean, if I were to assume room temperature, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have to go to work tomorrow, but fuck, I kind of enjoy being around.
It has its advantages, yes.
Right.
So what have you been doing for the up this week?
I don't know, man. It's been a weird week. We do the 980s, which means on one week I'll work 9 hours in 5 days, and then the next week, or I'll work 9 hours, 4 days a week, then 8 hours on Friday, and then the next week you get the Friday off. So it's it's 4 9s, and then you get so it's 44 hours one week, and then 36 hours the next week. So
that's not a bad deal.
Meh, it's all right. It's weird to get used to, especially when you throw in holidays like Easter.
Oh, that's true. That's
true. Because we had Good Friday off, so and it was a paid day off, but. So I had a short week that week, and then this last week was a Friday off week. So I had 2 4-day work weeks in a row. So it's not bad. It allows me to get things done around the apartment. I'm in the process of buying a home, so that gives me a little bit of time to do all that stuff. Because hunting for a house is a full-time job.
Yeah, time to get out there and figure out where can you live. Find a nice neighborhood.
Yeah, and surprisingly so. I when you go and you get pre-approval for a mortgage, they're like, "Oh, we're going to give you $300,000," and then you look at going through VA, zero down, and but then even with zero down, you don't pay down the principal at all. So your freaking mortgage payments are a couple $1,000s a month.
No kidding.
So you got to be responsible in the sense of what can you really afford. The reason I'm going to buy a house is because I'm sick and tired of throwing money away for rent. But I'd like the payment to be about the same, if not less. So I had to alter my. I'm not going to get the palatial mansion that I really want.
Well, and where you live, it's not exactly a cheap area.
No, it's not. It's not. I'm staying out of Dallas County. Dallas County's that's like Millennialville.
Oh yeah.
If you want to stay, if you want to stay in the suburbs of Dallas, then you're in the hood. If you want to be in Dallas, where the nice places are, you're going to pay through the nose.
Oh yeah, and I wouldn't even think 300,000 would cover something like that.
Not really. You can get a hell of a nice house for $300,000, but.
Oh yeah. See, I actually got the chance to stay down in Fort Worth for a week by accident, and it was a nice place, a nice area.
Yeah, that's where I live, Fort Worth.
I was actually, the reserve base there?
Yeah.
I stayed there for a week while I was waiting for my truck to be repaired.
Yeah, it's a white settlement area.
Yeah, it was. In fact, and I actually enjoyed the area. I enjoyed the people. Very, very nice people.
Yeah, the houses aren't too expensive out there, but that's quite a drive from work. I don't want it to be a long ass commute. I'm pretty particular as far as the area that I want to live in, and and with all of these requirements, that kind of pigeonholes me into a certain to certain areas, and then those certain areas pigeonhole me into certain price points. So I'm playing the game. I'm not jumping at the first house I see that I like. Like I said, I saw 8 houses today.
Yeah, that for people who don't know, house hunting may sound like fun, but it believe it or not, after the first one or two houses, you get impatient, and then not only that, going through each house and having to be critical, it stops being fun.
It's still fun. It's just I am increasingly disappointed at the choices out there.
I don't blame you. I know when I found this house, my choices weren't too badly limited. I limited them just because they were saying, "Oh, like you say, they would said, "Oh, you can afford this much," and I'm going, "You're right, I can, but I don't wanna.
Yeah.
I don't want to be living on ramen noodles just so I have a roof over my head."
That's true, and I've got to temper my spending because my oldest daughter is coming. She's moving back to Texas, and I'm going to be paying for her last 2 years of college, and then I'm going to add her to my insurance for the time being, and that shit's expensive. I mean, she's 19, but
it's still expensive.
It's expensive as shit for young adults.
Yeah, all insurance is expensive for young adults. Doesn't matter what kind.
Yeah, so I'm taking the proper steps now to put myself in a position where that's not going to put a strain on my finances.
Now, that's your oldest daughter or your youngest?
It's my oldest daughter.
Wow. I thinking back when my son was 19, he went to college. That just doesn't seem that long ago, but I think about it and actually was.
It's growing up, man. It's good to see her. It's really good to see her growing up.
Well,
she's a good kid. She's a smart kid. She makes good choices and stuff. It's just it's expensive as shit to be in Montana.
Oh yeah, but that's something to be proud of, that she makes good choices. I mean, these days, you got the whole Tide Pod and condom snort and shoot. I was reading about something else now they're trying, and it's ridiculous.
There's like a new challenge every couple of weeks.
Yeah. Oh, the new challenge. Get this. Excuse me. The new challenge is now to sneak into a store of someone else's choosing, go in before it closes, sneak in somewhere and not get caught, and stay overnight without getting caught.
That's illegal.
Yes, exactly. But that's the new challenge. I guess you actually can, if you type it in. I don't know the combination of words to type in, but apparently there's like over 100,000 postings on it now.
It's all fun and games until someone gets arrested.
Oh, but they don't take that seriously. They look at arrest as, big deal. Nah. They don't think about the consequences of when you go to put in that job application because you finally decide you actually want to be a part of society. It comes back to haunt you.
Kids these days, man.
Yeah, well, but us as parents, we got to be there. We got to love them, and we got to be parents. Best thing you can remember when you're raising them. Huh, Amanda?
Oh, before we go any further, I just want to take a moment to the two pilots of that Apache that crashed. Their identities were released, and see at approximately 9:50 p.m. on Friday, two soldiers of the 101st Combat Aviation Destiny Brigade, 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault, were killed in an AH-64 Echo Apache helicopter crash at the local training area on Fort Campbell. Chief Warrant Officer 3, Ryan Connolly, age 37, was the instructor pilot. And Warrant Officer James Casadona, age 28, was the pilot of that aircraft. The accident is still under investigation, and the cause has not yet been determined. So, raise your glass.
Raise your glass to two of our brothers. Toast.
All right, cheers, everybody. It seems like there's been a lot of military crashes lately.
Yeah, and this goes back to when I went in after the Carter administration decimated the military with their drawdown. They'd estimated that there were 5 vehicles or some form of transportation that needed to be maintenance per every soldier in the military active at the time. Okay. Now we've been going back and forth, draw down, draw up, whatever. But the thing is, our numbers are low enough that maintenance, as much as people are going to try, maintenance is not easy to carry through with when you've got low numbers and you're relying on contracts and not bringing in the active staff who are always there. Because as you know, with your work, they're only going to pay you for so much. At some point they say no. Well, with military, they're always there. So if the job's there, well, go get it done, even if you're working overnight.
Yeah, but with aircraft, there are scheduled inspections, and if those inspections are not completed, then the aircraft is grounded.
Yeah, and I understand that. It's just I've always had a thing about with drawdowns. There's always that problem of maintenance on vehicles. There was a lot of crashes back in the early '80s when I was in. You heard about them all the time. Stuff falling out of the sky, vehicles breaking down, all sorts of stuff. And then when the Reagan bumped up the numbers, it didn't happen as much. They had the people to be there. It's just one of those things I've noticed in patterns. Same thing happened in the Clinton years.
See, I don't know if this, I'm not sure if this happens anymore, but I always found it very beneficial to have civilian contractors augment the maintainers on the flight line.
Oh, yeah.
So you might have, you're going to have your aviation company, and then you're going to have the folks that take care of the aircraft, but then you're going to have DynCorp there who are, trained and educated. Most of them have military background, and they're licensed to work on these aircraft. So they're not, the knowledge that they bring forward is pretty beneficial.
Well, not just the knowledge, but okay, military guys come and go. They get stationed. They have to go overseas. They deploy. The civilians are good to be there as a consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want someone who, one, has the consistent knowledge, and two, they get to where they know almost everything, every helicopter or every vehicle that comes in personally. And they know which ones, okay, this one could use this, or this one always has this problem. We don't know what's going on, but we know it, and we know how to work it. That type of thing. It sounds silly, but civilians have that ability versus military guys who, are rotating. They deploy.
Well, even I worked for L3 when I was over in Iraq, and we augmented a unit out of Alaska. And we were just the civilian crew that helped those dudes with their OH-58 D models. And it was these guys knew their shit, man.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's not that they don't. It's just they have to constantly rotate through, and sometimes,
their aircraft go with them from time to time. You'll get a unit that's going back stateside, but they're not taking their aircraft with them, so we would get their aircraft, like 4 or 5 extra
Yeah.
aircraft.
Yeah.
So then there's a learning curve on going through the books and figuring out what the idiosyncrasies of those aircraft are.
Okay. That and see that doesn't sound like too bad of a job as a civilian.
No, it was good. It was good stuff. Long days, but it was good work.
Good work and good pay. Being a civilian contractor overseas, I have a niece that she's an actual teacher, and she actually makes good money going overseas and teaching music of all things. Mm-hmm. And she, it's not that she has to learn the country's language. She goes over to teach embassy and military civilian kids, stuff of that nature.
That's good stuff.
And I know that she does relatively well doing that, and I'm really proud of her. She's planned her future to where she isn't one of these kids that's going to sit there and say, "Well, I have debt at the age of 60."
That or they graduate with a useless degree from college and wonder why they're, $100,000 in debt, and the job that they've got isn't paying the bills.
Oh yeah, that is probably the biggest problem these days, is kids not realizing you can sit there and want to get in. I hear it so often. Oh, I want a business degree. Great. What are you going to do with it? Go into business? Doing what? And that's where they stop. And you want to sit there and go, if you don't know really what you want to do in business, it's either get motivated, because business degrees are usually supposed to be people who are motivated to get into any business, and they're usually go-getters. At least that's the way it used to be.
Well, see, a lot of our engineers, they have like they have like their master's degree in electrical engineering, for example, but they've also got a bachelor's degree in business, and they're going for their MBA.
Huh.
So these guys are, and my company has a really, really great tuition assistance program.
Yeah.
All you have to do is commit 3 years to the company, and you're in.
Wow. Nice. I guess it's a good way to keep employees, though.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I mean, it's a good environment to be working.
So, other than house hunting, what else has been on your mind?
Oh, dude, I don't know. I'm kind of wishing the weather would make up its mind what it wants to do, man. It's been in the 30s a couple days in a row.
Oh, down where you're at, that's not fun.
Yeah, but it'll be. We're going to be up in the 80s by the end of the week. So.
Oh, I'm jealous. We're lucky if we're going to hit 50s.
No, but one of these days, probably. See, this is April, May. Probably around June, we'll be in the triple digits, and it'll just be like a regular Texas summer.
Yeah, I remember being down in Texas in the summer in AIT and the heat phase 4s and the telling you if you got sunburnt, you were in trouble and everything else.
Oh, you were down at Sam Houston?
Yeah, I was at Fort Sam. I spent a little over 6 months there. So I started there in the worst of the summer, and then it went to where it wasn't so bad.
Let's see. I went to basic at Fort Jackson in July. That sucked.
Oh yeah.
And then I was at Fort Gordon for about a year after that for AIT.
See, one of my duty stations was actually Fort Gordon. I worked at DDMAC. Dwight David Eisenhower Army Medical Center. I was there, and I remember all the signals. What was it? The Christmas tree range, and
yeah, I was just there.
Everybody climbed the trees.
Man, I was just a kid back then, man. I was worried about passing class, and then eating pizza after work.
All the simple things in life, right?
Right. Didn't have shit to care about.
That's the one thing I've noticed since I've been getting busier as I sit there and say, just remembering to do the simple things and enjoy the simple things sometimes can mean everything. Enjoy a simple sitting down and watching something you haven't watched in a while, something that you can just, I don't have to be up to date to watch this. I don't have to do anything to watch this, or go out for a nice walk. And I can't do as much, but when I do, it helps you just remember to be simple. I mean, I sometimes I sit there and think about if only I would have known back then to cherish the simplicity of life that I had compared to what I have now, right?
Yeah, I guess hindsight is 20/20.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So that's kind of what I do is I try to remind myself that I don't have to do anything other than breathe. Anything else can be negotiated.
You got responsibilities, though. I mean, whether you're a parent or not, or a homeowner or not. I mean, there's life expected. There's things that you're expected to do and accomplish.
I'm not saying forget your responsibilities. I'm saying just every once in a while remember that you can be simple. I mean, take a half an hour every day and just be simple. Nothing wrong with that. I mean,
not to be confused with being lazy.
Oh yeah. Has nothing to do with being lazy. I enjoy being simple. I don't try to be lazy.
But there is a fine line.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. Being lazy, you intentionally don't do things you need to get done. Being simple means putting aside some time just to allow things to calm down. So you don't allow things to get to you. Otherwise, it's hard to go to sleep at night. You take it to your sleep. Your stuff creeps into your dreams, and then you really don't sleep well.
It was like Cedeno just said, he's sitting down, kicking it with Kaz and drinking a real sugar Coke, and it's very nice.
Exactly. Good point. Good point, Cedeno. I mean, that's kind of the reason we're here. Is every night but Wednesday, you get to hear someone talk, and you can kind of just put aside what you're doing and listen. Even if you don't even have to put aside. Even if you're doing something, it's something that's not going to sit there and upset you, hopefully. And it's going to be something that can make you laugh or get your mind off of what's going on around you for a little while.
Yeah, I listen. I've only got this show here on Sundays, but I've got the show on every day. Every day,
Yeah.
whether it's background noise and I'm doing things, or if I'm sitting down and partaking in Facebook Live. I mean, you can catch us on several different platforms. I mean, we're not just here on Facebook Live. We're on the TuneIn app. We're on YouTube. Hello to all those dudes over in Mixer. Road Tech, he's a piece of furniture there. I mean, he's always there. Tater dropped in last night. It's just really cool. You can even listen to us just on the website WTFNationRadio.com. Hit that play button on the top right and just go about your business. Just
and I'll tell you this: listening to this radio station versus turning on the TV to any of the news channels, even if we're producing news, we're not going to sit there and beat you up. We're not going to try to make you feel bad. We're going to try to get you to get a couple chuckles and to, maybe explain a situation that's not being explained.
Well, since Cedeno's having a soda, I've got a little news story here, according to Mercury News.
Okay.
The U.S. legal cannabis industry is expected to reach $75 billion in sales by the year 2030. That's almost as large as the North American carbonated soft drink market is in 2017.
Wow.
With the industry's diverging trajectories, weed may be poised to make the mantle as the larger industry in the coming years. Cannabis is growing rapidly as states legalize the plant both medically and recreationally. 9 states and Washington, D.C. now allow for recreational pot use, and this means that 1 in 5 American adults can smoke, vape, eat, or drink it however they want to.
Wow.
That's a
That's
that
a lot of money.
that's a lot of money, dude. $75 billion, and it's just in 9 states
Yeah, yeah.
and D.C.
Well, and I'll be interested to see how they go with it. I kind of go back and forth with the whole recreational versus medical
Mhm.
myself. I believe it has medical uses, and I think they need to be explored very heavily. Um, Seeing what the chemicals are. I mean, they really haven't explored it because it's always been illegal.
Yeah, it's still federally illegal, but the states are doing what they will, and I
Yeah.
think it does need to be studied. And if there's dangers there, then let everybody know. Don't let it be like the tobacco industry, where
Well, and
there
that's
there
what I was
were
going to compare it to.
where there were issues and there were known issues, and it was just kind of covered up and not really discussed. And then the warnings started coming out, and
Well, and that's just it. I'm a proponent of I'm the type of person I sit there and say anything that is not ingested the way you're supposed to is going to have effects. And breathing in something is going to have effects, just like cigarettes do, cigars do. Anything that goes in the lungs has an effect, especially because it's going in hot. It's going to have an effect on your throat. It's going to have an effect on your mouth, and it's going to have an effect on your lungs. So I think, again, it needs to be researched. Recreationally, I'm not a big proponent of, just because we have enough problems with DUI out there and enough people making a lot of bad judgment calls. We don't need more.
well, I'm thinking if law enforcement can come out with a way, or not law enforcement, a tool for law enforcement to use that can determine someone's status of intoxication if they had been smoking pot.
I agree.
I think that would be good. I'm fine with the recreational use of it. I mean, if that's what you want, that's fine. I'm not going to judge you. Folks go to bars every fucking night, so why not go to a dispensary and pick you up something and take it back to your house and blaze away.
Well, and see, I will go with that. The big problem is, like you said, go back home, because some people will sit there and say I'm fine to drive, just like drinking, and the cops, well, they have a much harder time. And I think a year or two ago there was a police officer who was known for pulling people over and saying that they were high. They said over half his arrests were he was wrong about, because they were doing field sobriety and it wasn't alcohol. And you just sit there going, it's not his fault. He's trying. But the thing is, they need an accurate test. I mean, it's only right for both the people being pulled over and for the police themselves. They don't need that frustration.
There's a funny story out of Detroit, and this is from the Guardian from November of 2017. It says the police are essential for the maintenance of law and order. Sometimes they have to go to extreme ends in order to make sure that society is safer. Going undercover is one of those difficult tasks.
I saw that
where
one.
where you have to put the whole lives on pause to adapt to a new lifestyle. It seems like it's very simple, but sometimes the mess up is inevitable. A number of I had to read this a couple of times and process it because it's pretty convoluted. A number of undercover police officers went undercover in Detroit as drug dealers. But due to a mess up, another group of cops thought that they were real drug dealers raiding their house. So you had an undercover unit doing an operation out of a house, and then you have another unit doing an operation against that house, and they didn't know each other existed.
Yeah, I read that too. I mean, you feel bad for the two groups because they were honestly trying to do their job and a good job of it.
They both did a fantastic job.
They sniffed each other out.
Police Chief James Craig said that this is probably the most embarrassing thing that this department has ever seen. The incident took place on November 9 when two officers from Detroit's 12th precinct were undercover as a drug dealer in order to arrest the buyers, which ended up being a disaster because two buyers arrived at the so-called drug house, but they were also undercover police officers from the 11th district. They started searching everything on their arrival. The body cam caught the whole bizarre incident of the officers having a fight, including they punched each other. And I haven't seen the video, but they say if you see the video, all you can think of is the Keystone Cops.
Well, and you have to sit there and think they're probably so pissed off that each other's blown each other. Mm-hmm. And it's like, who's supposed to be in charge of this and keeping tabs so that other things don't interfere with each other?
Well, according to the police chief, this event has triggered an investigation. Back in the 80s, something similar happened, and it took the lives of two police officers.
Now that's sad.
And the police chief expressed relief that no lives were taken. But there was, I think one guy had a busted nose and another guy had a black eye.
If that's the worst that comes out of it, that's not bad. Jeez.
Well, those undercover operations they're on the down low. You can't let it, hey, we're doing it undercover. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they have one or two specific people they're supposed to keep in contact, and their handlers are supposed to report to someone, but it's all kept hush hush so that if there's any possible corrupt hands out there, the corrupt hands don't find out.
I mean, because you got to figure in Detroit you're going to have some crooked cops too.
Oh, especially in Detroit. It's sad the way that city has gone.
I used to work there when I lived in Toledo. I used to work out of Detroit. It's lovely people, but dude, don't be there after dark.
That's what I've heard. They have a hard time keeping things running, even the municipal things like fire and police.
Then you got that big Flint debacle, which is nowhere near Detroit, but.
You know, I read an article. Did you see they stopped giving bottled water to the residents, and the water is still not cleaned up?
Did they stop, or did they announce a stop date?
They actually stopped. They said the places where they're keeping the bottled water, they're not restocking it anymore.
That's bad news, dude.
So at this point, they're on their own. So it's like, what do? Do you stay where you are, or if you don't have the money, go to a homeless shelter out of town?
I'll bet you I can buy a pretty cheap house in Flint.
Oh, I bet you could too. But the question is, would you wanna?
No.
I mean, I'm all for getting your vitamins and minerals, but that's a little bit too much mineral.
Now, what's in the water?
Lead.
Is it lead? Okay.
Lead. What happened is they went, the city went the cheap route, went with a different company, brought it through some, oh gosh, how did that go? They tried to do it themselves, brought it through old piping that was lined with lead. The lead came in and got into the city's piping. So even if they were to try to flush it out, it won't work.
It's almost like they've got to abandon all the current piping and just lay new water pipe throughout the city.
And that's what they've said. The problem is nobody has the funds to. And there were warnings about this even before they did it, and the city council that voted on it were the ones who they had notices that there was the possibility of this, and they went with it anyway. And they even had warnings when it hit, and they could have possibly kept it from leaching as far as it did, but they ignored it until parents were saying their kids were coming in sick and the hospitals were showing up with lead poisoning everywhere. At that point, it couldn't be ignored.
Very interesting. That's the leadership's issue right there, man. And unfortunately, it affects all the residents of Flint.
Yeah, and that is sad. But
So-
on a more positive note, hey, would you like to go on to a luxury hotel? It only cost you $9 million for one night. Or no, excuse me, for 2 weeks.
This isn't the Burj in the Middle East, is it?
No, this is the Aurora station.
Oh, that sounds like it's up in space.
Yep, it's going to be built. They're expecting it to be built by 2021.
What?
Yep.
Who's building this?
Jeez. Let me get into the article. Give me half a second. Left-handed clicking. There we go. All right. Announced during the Space 2.0 Summit in San Jose, California on Thursday. The ambitious Aurora Station project plans to allow 6 people, including 2 crew members, the opportunity to enjoy first-class accommodation above Earth as part of a 12-day odyssey among the stars. The once-in-a-lifetime experience will allow guests to experience the exhilaration of zero gravity and gaze upon stunning views of the planet below without the fear of getting lost in space, with the added perk of being able to witness an average of 16 sunrises and sunsets a day. Also on the agenda is the chance to take part in research experiments such as growing food in orbit and trying out state-of-the-art virtual reality technology on the holodeck, while high-speed internet will let people put together some truly incredible Snapchat stories.
I don't think I would do that even if it was free. Not yet. I mean, it's great. I love ingenuity and I love cool things and stuff, but no. I think I'm going to keep my feet planted here on Earth.
Well, yeah, and it's $9 million for that. But first of all, you have to take in consideration, you have to go 3 months of training before you go. And you still have to pass the physicals and the training.
Yeah, I mean, because rocket flight, all those G-forces, man, you got to have some kind of training and some level of physical fitness.
Exactly. And I'm looking at the article, and right now they're allowing people to put down an $80,000 deposit online in a bid to secure a place for 2021. So
that's a lot of money.
If you feel like taking the most grand of all vacations,
it would be one to remember. That would be pretty cool.
I ran across that, and I mean they haven't even a picture of how it's supposed to look like inside.
I don't know. 2021 is right around the corner.
Yeah, I know. If you think about it, we're at 2018. I mean, come on, that is not far away.
Nothing happens that quickly.
Well,
if it's private,
and who knows?
Well, if it's private industry, I'll bet you Elon Musk is probably on board for as far as supplying the rockets.
Yeah, I mean, you have to wonder who all is a part of the project. It doesn't say, but they believe that they've developed a turnkey operation to where it will go up very quickly. And it's supposed to be a luxury hotel, everything included, and including anything you could want.
That would be pretty remarkable if that came. I mean, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen eventually.
Oh,
But,
yeah. I mean, it just, people are shooting for the moon. People are trying very hard to get us to look to space, and that's a good thing. I mean, you have to look at Elon Musk and those guys. They're trying to put our heads back into the stars and to look to innovation. And I think that's a good thing.
oh, sure it is. Absolutely.
It gets people motivated. It gets people to say, it's kind of like the the space program in the 60s. It got people motivated and wrapped around doing something, being a part of something.
And that's why SpaceX is so successful. I mean, and there's SpaceX industries all over the country. We've got one here down toward Waco.
Yeah.
And it's just the workforce is young and educated and motivated. And I interviewed and was offered a job there. They don't pay that well.
Oh.
But everyone there is very happy with what they're doing. They're making history, and it's really pretty badass.
Yeah, and I guess being able to say you're a part of something, there is something to be said for that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
everyone wants to put their little stamp on history, and be a part of something, and that's something you can be really proud of.
Dale says, "Well, let's find a cure for homeless veterans." I agree with you, Dale. And in communities, more and more, I'm actually hearing, and I'm actually in my community, I've got some contacts in the veteran community that are part of the city council and such. There are a lot of communities now that are trying to come up with land to start small homes for homeless veterans to get them on their feet.
Yeah, when we were at Warhorse for Veterans, we talked to a gentleman who was the head honcho at the Veterans Community Project, and that's what they do. They build tiny homes for veterans, and they're gaining a lot of traction.
Yeah, it's usually a grassroots thing. You have to get you can't be big because you're looking at each community's different. Each need is different as far as where would you put them, and then you have to look at what's available as far as services around to help the veterans, because it's one thing to get them homeless. It's another to treat them so that they eventually can move forward. And excuse me, that's usually where you start having your policy problems and your people stepping in with egos, is when you start talking about that stuff. But the intention of getting people homeless, or the intention of getting the homeless into homes, there's a lot of programs now that are getting traction. And it kind of goes to, we're giving refugees permanent incomes for a long time, if not all of their life, when they should be looking at, we should be looking at our own veterans and thinking, what's more important? I'm not saying not everybody's important, but at the same time, veterans put themselves out there for our country. We should be looking at them first.
Yeah, I was going through the Veterans Report, which is our one of our partners. It's a KHB radio in Pittsburgh. You can find them at theveteransreport.com. They have a poll question up this week, and I don't know if it was last week's. I think it's this week's question. They estimated that there's about 40,000 veterans organizations out there to help veterans. Do you think that's enough, or is that too much?
That's interesting.
And I don't know how to answer that.
Well, and I agree with you because we look at, I mean, if you look at what we hear here on the station with the different groups that come through and they tell us all about their organizations, there's a lot of positive role towards helping veterans. I personally think it would do well to try to actually bring a website or web page together that would actually reach out and try to not encompass, not to control, but to help network each other.
Like to aggregate all that information?
Yeah, because when I hear some of the stuff that's going on down in Texas, and then I hear stuff that's going on here, and I hear stuff that's going on here, you just want to sit there and go, but have they talked to each other? Because they could learn off of each other. They could help each other with resources.
Or so it's these other organizations don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly. I mean, I one of the groups that we had here was talking about where they help veterans write arts and crafts. Did arts and crafts, but they also had in the works getting the homeless taken care of and some other stuff. And they were working on getting their foundation self-sustaining by doing certain things, having crafts and selling the crafts, so on and so forth. And I sat there going, that's what they were trying to do up here. And unfortunately, an ego or two got in the way, and now it's not doing so well. But it could be replicated. And they have the template for it already. And I just sat there going, that would be something that you would sit there and go, maybe they should advertise, okay, we've got this going, and here's how we set it, and we can show you the template we used, and the only parts that change are, okay, what do you do for the self-sustaining income? But pretty much everything else falls in place.
But all that changes as far as, regulations are different with each state, and you have to jump through certain hoops to make things work. And, I've seen these things work in Kansas City. There's another group in Phoenix that we talked to and met up with during an event down that way, where they they take care of the homeless. It's just there's so much politic thrown in there that it kind of throws a wrench into things.
Well, yeah, remember that who was it? The screenwriter who was doing the documentary on the homeless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All the politics that he said that they ran into with the homeless, just being homeless.
Yeah, when just being homeless is going to get you
in trouble.
Right.
I mean, there has to be. See, up here we actually have a veterans court where if you're a veteran, and they actually will try to refer you to this court rather than regular court, so that you still fall under law, but then they look at what's going on, and is there more going on than just an offense?
Like, is there some underlying issue?
Exactly.
In other words, if you've got some kind
issues, if you've got alcohol issues, if you've got drug issues, they'll sit there and say, okay, tell you what, we'll go ahead and we'll maybe, if you're willing to go into work with someone and work towards a program that maybe makes your coming back less possible, we will commute to you proving that you are taking care of yourself.
I've heard that the Veterans Court is kind of a double-edged sword. It is helpful, but it also, and I can't give examples of this. I don't know. I just hear stories that it's a blessing, but it's also a
Yeah,
curse in some ways.
it can be. Eh, I've seen good come out of it. The downside is you do see the bad, where guys don't rehab, and then you have to say, we can't do anything with this guy. And at that point, uh, everything comes back to them. Um, Normally, they have a psychiatrist or psychologist on the board, plus a judge, plus some veterans like from the VFW and such. People are willing to say, okay, is this someone that we believe wants help? One, and two, is this someone that we can get help for?
Or they can determine whether these problems and issues stem from something, if they've got some PTS issues or
Exactly, because how many undiagnosed PTSD issues are there out there? There's a lot of veterans who haven't gotten diagnosed with PTSD, just like they're finding out there's veterans who haven't been diagnosed with TBI. It's
and there's also a lot of veterans out there that don't even go to the VA.
Oh yeah, the stigma of the VA and some guys, it's not even, I can't say it's a stigma. Some people just want to walk away. They're fed up. I mean, guys put in their 4 years, they do their honorable, and when they get out, they're so fed up, they want nothing to do with us. They want nothing to do with the VA. They want nothing to do to get help. And sometimes it works, but a lot of times it doesn't. Because usually when they're that upset, it's because they got stuff going on that they aren't willing to admit to.
Yeah, I'm not wrapped up in the court system at all. But I know I've got a listener down in the Houston area, and he's been going through veterans court, and he seems to like it. Not like it. I mean, you don't have to like it, but it's just it's different than just going through the regular penal system.
Well, it is, because when you're talking to someone, you're not talking to someone who is going. All right, let's be honest. There are a lot of judges who are around bases who don't like us because we do stupid stuff.
Well, I mean, you have people that don't have any military experience, and they've already got their opinions on military veterans.
Exactly. And
rightly or wrongly, usually wrong. And they don't understand when a veteran goes out and does stuff. It doesn't mean that he's a malicious person. It just means maybe he's just having a really bad day. And, well, in the military, what do they teach you to do with bad days? Take it out on something else. Take it out on your work. Take it out on the enemy. They don't necessarily teach you how to direct yourself. And it comes out in bad ways. So, no, there's so many. I've seen a lot of positive with the courts, with that type of thing. Hey, Joe, you want to call the show and talk about your experience with the vet court? I'll plop the 367. Go ahead and give us a call, man. You can tell us your experience, your story. And if I am unable to answer the call, I will call you back.
Call in, Joe. We're more than willing to talk.
It'd be cool to hear. I mean, I've never really had a discussion with anybody who's gone through Veterans Court.
Yeah, go ahead. We're more than welcome. You're more than welcome, and I'd like to hear your experience.
There he is. Add to call. WTF Nation Radio, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hello, Joe. This is WTF Nation Radio. What's going on, brother? Ooh, your connection is really horrible, dude.
Can you hear us, Joe?
Oh, he just disconnected. He must have been on a cell phone. Okay, try this again.
No, but hardly anybody has landlines anymore.
I do.
So do I.
The only reason I do is because my it actually lowered my bill.
You know, I actually keep mine because the one thing you learn during a power outage is there's still a better chance that you're going to have a landline open because they have their own power.
Yep.
And I find that comforting.
All right, you're back, man.
Yeah, sorry about that. I live out in the sticks, and I have such lovely reception out here.
Oh, totally awesome. Thanks for calling back, man. Hey, so what? Tell us about tell us about the Veterans Court.
The Veterans Court, I mean, it's actually pretty good if you're in a state where, like I'm in New Hampshire right now, and I got charged with second-degree assault and, domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
And basically they just took somebody's word, for what it was, like it was gold and gospel. And they did, basically the state will try and paint you as this crazed war vet and throw the whole PTSD thing right at you. And basically, if I did not have vet court, I would not have gotten a fair shake at this at all.
So just as a veteran, as a veteran, and obviously you had charges pressed against you, how did you get referred to a vet court? Is that done through a public defender or your lawyer, or does that have to be petitioned?
No, that one actually I kind of stumbled across at the VA before I got hired there.
Oh.
Yeah, it was kind of like a new thing that they were standing up at my particular VA. And I got to say, though, like if you have a VJO appointed to you, you're going to have to sign a contract. And mine in particular, she had my balls in a vice for, 2 years.
What does VJO stand for?
Veterans Justice Outreach.
Okay.
Okay. So do they find you, or do you find them if you've got some charges against you?
By personal experience, I had to find them.
Okay, and once
once you going to say they're getting more active.
Okay. Once you went to them, did they have to get the case referred? Were they receptive to it? How well did it work?
It works out well if you can get, everybody had to sign off on it. The judge, the prosecutor, my public defender. So all parties have to agree to it before you could even do anything.
Okay, so it's kind of like like a deferred adjudication for things other than traffic.
Yeah, but like I said, if I didn't have it, then I'd probably be sitting in a jail cell right now.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, so I wouldn't go knocking it too hard. I mean, just like being in the military, you just got to do it. You got to right place, right time, right attitude.
There you go. That's that's the key to life right there.
Well,
yeah.
That it worked for you.
It did. I had to go through batterer's intervention and all the other bullshit that comes along with just a charge. And mind you, everything got dropped. It was conditionally, but everything was dropped, and I don't know. I still kind of felt like a guilty shitbag for even agreeing to those terms.
Yeah.
But vet court, I think, is more of an asset than people would give it for, and they should probably go for it.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of work on your behalf, but I mean if all of those charges disappear, then your reputation is saved at to some degree.
I mean, I work at the VA as just a housekeeping aide, and I almost didn't even meet the suitability review for it.
Wow.
Just because of the arrest.
Well, yeah, and that's one thing that people don't realize is you as veterans, we work so hard to do honorable while we're in, but then when we get out, it just takes one little thing like what you're talking about, and it could really screw you.
Yeah. And it's just like the climate that I saw. It's like states are just going to try and go after veterans just for being like these crazy friggin' whack jobs when that's not the case. Like you said earlier, some motherfucker just having a bad day.
Well, yeah. Now they've gotten, it's become a standard that you can't be a man anymore, and you can't have, and on top of it, you can't have a bad day. Women can, but men can't, and then on top of it, throw in the fact you're a veteran. Oh, the minute you have a blow up, oh, it's PTSD.
Yeah, I mean, even in my case, I didn't even do what I was even charged with. Like, I actively got myself out of a really shitty situation, and she even freely admits to blocking the only exit out of there, and somehow I'm still the asshole in that case.
Jeez.
Well, I appreciate the call, Joe.
Yeah, not a problem, man.
Good luck to you, man.
Thank you, Joe.
Yep, you guys take care. I'll go back on the chat.
All right, brother.
See you there.
Man. Good night.
Good night. And with that, I think we'll take our first break. Does that sound like a plan?
That sounds like a plan.
All right, we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Everybody, stay tuned.
Shots.
WTF Nation Radio.
The voice of U.S. Army. WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
You can write everything down if you want to. Be brave enough to write every one of your goals down. But I'm going to tell you something. Life's going to hit you in your mouth, and you got to do me a huge favor. Your why has to be greater than that knockdown. And I love it. Buster Douglas got knocked out. Nobody ever got knocked out by Mike Tyson and ever got back up. It was almost a 10 count. He was stumbling. They were 4, 3, 2, and 1, and ding, 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 saved by the bell. And he goes to his corner. The whole world is like, yep, that's it. Once he comes back out, that's it. Mike's gonna just hammer him. And exactly that. Mike Tyson came out like, I got him. I got this kid up against the rope. Listen to me, many of you right now, life's got you up against the rope. You can't give up. You can't give in. Listen to me, if it was easy, everybody would do it. And if life's got you backed up, I need you to do what Buster Douglas did. Buster Douglas started fighting back. And the world was shocked. Goliath has been knocked down. What happened? And they went to Buster Douglas and they asked Buster Douglas simply like, what happened? And Buster Douglas said, listen to me, it's real simple. Before my mother died, she told the whole world that I was going to beat Mike Tyson. And 2 days before the fight, my mother died. Buster Douglas had a decision to make. When his mother died, he could die with his mother, or he made a decision, I can wake up and I can live for mom. And he knocked Mike Tyson out simply because his why was greater than that punch. His why was greater than defeat. His why was greater than his trial and his tribulation. And I'm telling you, if you don't know what your why is and your why isn't strong, you're going to get knocked out every single day.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
And we are back. Thanks for hanging out for the second hour of Kicking It with Kaz with me, your host, Kaz, and our good friend here, Owl.
Woohoo!
Hoo-hoo. Oh, I had something for you. I don't know if you can hear this. You know, Ice had a couple of Owl sound bites for you, so I got a couple.
You know, I actually enjoy some of those things. And, I did want to say something. After Jay's show last night, thank you for acknowledging me, Jay. It's a very big compliment that you gave me. Just a shout out.
Yeah, it was a good show last night.
He did very well. He was tired. I mean, you looked at him and you could see the red lines in his eyes.
Yeah. It happens, man.
Oh yeah, but he's doing something he loves. I mean, it's great. He was out at didn't he say he was out at War Horses all day yesterday?
He spends his weekends there, yeah.
I mean, that's really great. And it's a really great thing that they're doing. I've at some point I'd like to. I don't necessarily need to go down there, but I'd love to be able to say hi to them and have a conversation with them.
Sure. Hey, before we get too carried away, Cedeno actually sent us a little bit of news out of Syracuse, New York.
What's that?
Everyone knows, they're talking about, gun owners are a scourge on the earth and all this stuff. But Syracuse University may have just avoided another campus targeted in a mass shooting. Evidence from a student from China, or there is evidence that a student from China was planning on a mass shooting, and that evidence surfaced while he was in Mexico on spring break. That's when police found ammunition and gun accessories in his apartment near campus. Students had only learned about it Thursday after media reports surfaced. In a statement, the school's chief law enforcement, Tony Callisto, said, because of the nature of the case, Syracuse University honored the request of law enforcement to maintain confidentiality while the investigation was underway and to prevent jeopardizing the outcome. John Laubscher, who is a Madison County gun shop owner, is being credited with refusing to sell the suspect a weapon. We've had more than one incident like this that we've called that we've called him out on, and we just had to say no and refuse to sell him a weapon. Lobsher recalls that the student came in and he asked for an assault rifle to hunt with, but Lobsher was already suspicious. When we complained, or when we explained to him the limitations of the AR, the ARs that you can get into New York, he just jumped right from that to he wanted a shotgun, and then his interest was to the highest capacity shotgun that they had. The student claimed the school had a class that teaches them how to use guns, but Lobsher knew that was not the case, so he called the police. And he's had nothing but good things happen after that. He says, we've had parents call and email us telling us how grateful they are that they were successful in preventing something that could have possibly happened.
Yeah, good call. I mean, that those were subtle, but he's right. Those were good hints that something was up. Good call. And thank you Sir Daniel for sending that in.
Yeah, I mean, it just takes someone with you get a bad feeling when things happen, and sometimes that little intuition. And and just out of concern, he called the police, and the police did an investigation. So he did the right thing. The police did the right thing, and they actually found something. So they prevented something that could have been pretty bad.
Well, and people sit there and they talk about each of these shootings. Someone always had suspicions, but they're too scared to turn it in just because. Even though people have preached about, if you see something, say something, there's still the whole being called a racist if you do type thing.
Right. And, if you raise suspicions and there's nothing there, the police are going to say, no, man, we did an investigation and there's nothing there.
Yeah. And the fact that of all things, he owns a gun shop. I mean, he was really putting himself out there on a limb.
Yeah, I mean it's his. With the shooting that happened in Las Vegas, that gun store owner is going through a bunch of stuff right now because he sold the guns and ammunition to that fellow.
Yeah, so I mean that's excellent, and it's good to hear news like that, positive things where things were taken care of before they became a sad instance. So yeah, that's great to hear. And again, thank you, Sir Daniel, for sending that.
Hey, have you ever been dead?
Have I ever been dead?
Yeah.
As a spiritualist, how do you want me to answer that?
Have you ever ceased to be alive?
In this life?
Yes, in this life.
No, I have not. Luckily, I have not gotten into that position. I was on my way out, but I didn't get to that point.
Well, a Romanian man has failed to convince the court that he was alive after he was officially registered as deceased by his wife. He has initiated a new lawsuit to annul his death certificate. Constantine, and this is out of Bucharest, Romania.
Yeah.
Constantine, I don't know how to say his last name, Rilu, said Friday that a lawsuit has been filed to cancel his death certificate that was issued in 2013. He is also suing for the return of his assets from his wife. He told the Associated Press, after my case became public, a lawyer offered to help me with this case because I have no money, and he's going to do it for free. Rilu worked in Turkey for more than 20 years, and he returned to Romania in January to discover that his wife had officially registered him as dead. He lost an appeal to overturn his death certificate in March because he appealed too late. So now he's got some legal representation, and he's going to go back to court and try to prove to the court that he is, in fact, alive.
Good for him.
I wish him the best of luck.
Dad.
Best of luck, Constantine.
Well, here's a funny part if you think about it. Okay, he's now officially dead. So anything he does, is he considered responsible for?
Does he have to pay taxes?
Yeah, exactly. Does he have to pay taxes? Could he go around walking around nude, doing all sorts of things, and the minute they sit there and say, "Well, you know, you're in trouble," he go to court. He'll say, "I'm dead. What are you going to do to me?" I mean, you have to think about that.
Well, yeah. The first thing that came to mind when I saw that it was in Romania, I'm thinking, okay, he could be like the new Dracula if he's dead and walking around.
We have enough people like that,
right? Dude, I saw a weird movie. It's called it's on Netflix. I like horror movies, but I like kind of the mind screwing with you, or the spiritual type thrillers in horror movies. But this one's called what's it called? It's called Let Me In. And it's just about this kid that lives in an apartment building, and he's bullied at school, and this little girl moves next door. Well, as the story progresses, she's a vampire, and it's a little love story between the two kids. I mean, she's 12 and he's 12. And I really recommend it. It's a pretty decent flick. It's called Let Me In.
I'm gonna have to remember that. I actually like. There's some out there movies I kind of like, and that sounds like something I'd enjoy. I mean, I'm not into the whole teenage angst thing, but that doesn't sound too bad.
No, it kept my attention. It's really slow. It begins kind of slow, but it picks up and you get involved in the story, and it's pretty cool.
I'll have to look it up. Let Me In. Let me write that down, actually. I always have a piece of paper and pen sitting by my desk here. Let Me In.
So you know how sometimes we do Florida man stories?
Yes.
Well, I've got a Florida woman story.
Okay.
Florida police made a traffic stop. This happened in Fort Pierce, Florida.
Okay.
Florida. When Florida police made a traffic stop, the driver told the police officer that she didn't know anything about the cocaine that they found in her purse. And her excuse was, it must have flown in through the window. Kenesha Posey, aged 26, was one of two passengers in the car that was swerving on the roadway, and it was stopped by the Fort Pierce, Florida police on March 21st. When officers approached the vehicle, they smelt marijuana, as it's stated in the police report. During the search of the car, they found cocaine and marijuana in separate bags in the purse that Posey had in her lap. She admitted to having marijuana, but she denied having any cocaine. I don't know anything about any cocaine. It's a windy day. It must have flown in through the window and into my purse. And she actually wrote that down in the police report. Posey was arrested and taken to jail, where she was booked on one felony count of cocaine possession and a misdemeanor count on the marijuana possession. She was later released on bond. Dude, when you're busted, don't just take your lumps, man. Take your lumps.
If you haven't learned anything from live PD, lying to the police only aggravates them more, people.
Well, I don't know how that got in my purse right next to the marijuana that I owned up to. I mean, granted, right, I'm sure there's a lot more stiffer charge as, having possession of cocaine than marijuana, because I guess the importance of marijuana is gone down.
Oh, much. But yeah, there's even stiffer charges than cocaine. When you start talking hash and some of the other stuff. Yeah,
I've been binge watching Drugs Inc.
Oh yeah.
Right now they have, I think there's 3 seasons up. I think it's seasons 5, 6, and 7 are on Netflix right now. And dude, they got some dangerous ass drugs out there.
No kidding. I watch it every once in a while. I didn't know it was on Netflix. I was watching it on one of the cable channels, and some of the stuff I saw, I'm just sitting there going, do you really know? I mean, I worked on a drug and alcohol rehab twice when I was in the military. And okay, yeah, the military is pretty tough on it. But you still would see dependence. And that's where you see the stupid, the hard stuff, and what it did to you long term.
Well, and it's the collateral damage of affecting your families. I mean, you might have a kid. There was one, and it's heartbreaking. And I don't like to see human tragedy type things. I mean, there's a guy running from the cops. He crashed his car. He got out of the car and ran away. So the police went to secure the car, and there was a kid in the back seat.
Oh yeah,
Ran off without his kid.
That's just it. People, when they're hooked into that, they don't think about the consequences. And that's one part of working drug and alcohol rehab you would see is they would actually, because I worked on the inpatient ward and on the rehab. And with the rehab, they'd actually try to get, if they had families, they'd try to get the families to, because you work at a major hospital, you have to bring them in from wherever they are. Mm-hmm. And so they'd actually try to bring the families in for a week or two of counseling at the end of the time that they'd been in, to give the family a chance to reconnect and to help them understand what kind of communication has to happen for this to move forward. Right. And it was always just heart-wrenching to hear the stories of the families. And I mean, they would sit there and they talk about, well, shoot, some of them would live in housing, but they wouldn't have food. They wouldn't have anything. Or, one guy, he had been a first sergeant, had gotten hurt and got hooked on pain meds. Well, the doctors took him off pain meds. He went to other stuff, and the toll it took on his family. And I mean, he had some really beautiful kids, and he stopped carrying.
And that was kind of a running theme on all the guys that were, all the people, men and women and kids, were, like they were in a car accident and they had back issues and they were prescribed pain pills. Well, their prescriptions ran out, so they went and started getting hooked on heroin. Yeah,
and that's it is a running theme, and it is a sad take on, and I'll try not to go on a rant on this. It's a sad take on Western medicine, because Western medicine could easily, if the doctors would get along with alternatives, they could say, okay, I'm taking you off this medicine, but I'm going to send you to these for pain management.
Are doctors, or do doctors? I don't. I see my VA doc, but it's nothing. So it's for nothing serious. It's just my general health. But do medical doctors, do they not prescribe, or do they recommend chiropractic or acupuncture or?
Okay, now you're asking me to really.
Do they offer non-medical solutions?
The VA. If you're talking about the VA has restrictions, but because of Trump and his mandate of giving alternatives to opiates, they are now going to things like chiropractic. My VA actually offers it. In fact, I'm part of a group that is initiative where the VA is trying to marry up with this group, and the group is going to become nonprofit because the VA is not allowed to pay for alternative medicine. But they're hoping to be able to pay the practitioners. And what will happen is the VA will refer a patient to the group, and the group will evaluate the needs. And then by experience of understanding what is out there as far as alternatives, then refer to someone in the group who can meet the needs of that person.
That makes sense.
Chiropractic is just one of so many alternatives out there that work. And the things that you can do, that's the route I had to go to be where I am now. Because when I first became disabled, the first thing they wanted to do was say, oh, well, you've got 5 major problems, each one of which we would probably prescribe morphine. So do you want morphine? They would give me anything I wanted. Demerol, hey, you want it? You want it? We'll give it to you.
I'm scared of medicine.
Oh,
I mean, I take blood pressure medication, but that's nothing. It doesn't do anything to me.
yeah.
But I wouldn't like anything that would make me fucking groggy or tired or spacey
Keep going. See, that's the thing. The choices, you're limited if you think within inside the box of federal medicine, because the Army and the VA have the same restrictions. Now, the VA's lightening their restrictions, and they're trying to find a way to marry it realistically, smartly, with an understanding of professionalism. Okay. The difference that I had to go about going through what I went through by getting into it on my own through experience. And that's actually locally what I'm going to be helping to do is bring my experience to the group to help steer veterans in the right direction when they come to the group. There are so many choices out there that get you away from medicine. Pain medication does not take care of pain. It masks it and makes it so you don't give a crap. That's all it really does. Some people, it all comes down to your ability to tolerate pain. And if they start giving you pain meds too quickly, you won't be able to tolerate pain. And pain, if you learn how to deal with it and you learn how to manage it, it won't overrule you. It won't overcome you. It will just be your warning sign. It warns me when I've gone too far. It warns me when I'm going to go too far.
Yeah, I remember. When I was a kid, I had some surgery done on my hand, and the doc. And this is the last time that I ever remember being on a pain med, and that was codeine or codeine 3 with Tylenol. And even when I was in my car accident, I don't know what they gave me when I was under, and because I was out for like a day.
Ow.
But when I got out of the hospital, I had a crushed arm. My head was split open, and they had to do a bone graft, so they took some shit out of my hip and put it in my arm. But I never had any pain meds stronger than 800 milligram Motrin.
You were lucky. You were very, very lucky.
The guy that was driving the car, he was on Perca something, Percocet, Percodan, whatever, and that messed him up, man. When he was coming off of that, he was getting sick a lot.
Oh yeah, and that is the problem. Is one, the mental addiction, and two, the physical addiction. It's a very sad circle.
Is that an opiate? Percocets?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Percocet and Percodan. Yes. They're all. There's so many of them out there. And they've gone through so many because they've refined them. They say, oh, well, this one isn't as addictive. Dude, it's addictive.
Yeah, I don't want to have anything to do.
What you say.
I don't want to have anything to do with anything that's habit forming, man.
Well, and that's just it. After working drug and alcohol rehab, when they offered me all that stuff, I went, I don't like the pain, and I don't like how it makes me feel. I don't like it how it affects me personality-wise. But I'll take that over not remember. I mean, you black out. You don't remember days. You don't remember weeks. It's you'll do stuff. People will sit there and say, yeah, I don't remember driving, but I ended up at this place, and I had the keys to my car in my hand. My car was parked right there.
And there's jokes going around, I guess. What the hell is that sleeping drug?
Oh, geez. I know which one.
Ambien. Like they'll pop an Ambien, but then like a couple days later they get a shitload of fucking Amazon stuff at their doorstep because.
Oh yeah, well there are medications out there that.
Or they'll start cooking shit. Or just weird stuff.
Oh, and people don't believe it's true, but it's very true. Some of this stuff has effects, and you don't know. It's kind of like people say, well, herbs, you don't know what's going to happen. Well, guess what? With medication, you don't know what's going to happen either. It has a general effect, but then for each personal person, it has its own effect. Different people in the room have talked about, well, this does this to me, or this has done this to me. Just because they say it isn't addictive, or just because they say it isn't going to get you high, doesn't mean it won't. And you can't trust that type of thing. That's kind of with what I do, with the way I am. People will sit there and they'll say, well, you talk about you're doing better, but you still say you still have pain. Well, why don't you do something about it? I'd rather have the pain. My pain is much less than it used to be. I figured out how to manage it. And that's what management is. It's not pain. Even on pain medicine, pain is not gone. It is there.
And another issue that I see, and I'm not a medical doctor, but it's just that these folks who are legitimately broke and they're in pain, so they're prescribed this cocktail of pills, and it's like there's the drug interactions.
Oh,
are pretty horrible.
Yeah. I'll give you an example.
Or even if they're taking some herbal stuff and they're taking prescribed medications, those have effects.
Yes, you have to be careful anytime. And when I first became disabled, my doctor had me on over 15 medications. And some of the medications were for side effects of side effects of other medications for side effects.
Yep.
Okay, that's how bad it got. Now, I got off. I'm down to very few prescribed medicine. Yes, I take herbals. And yes, you have to research it, or you have to find someone who knows this stuff.
Or at least let your physician know, hey, I'm doing this.
Oh, yes. In fact, most physicians now will say, are you on supplements? And when they say supplements, they mean herbs. They mean vitamins. Anything that is not prescribed, that goes in your mouth, or that you rub on you, or you smoke, they need to know about. Because every medication they give you can interact with an herb. Because understand, medications come originally from a plant.
Unless they're just synthetic creations.
Well, and here's what I was going to say is the only ones that don't were actually most likely synthesized to act like a medicine that came from a plant, but the plant itself had some sort of toxic effect.
Gotcha.
There are a lot of medicines out there that originally were either came from or tried to be mimicked from a plant.
Because even Minx was talking, the attending nurse came in and, Minx was saying that she was in pain, so they gave her a dose of fentanyl.
Yeah. first thing that they do is they don't want you complaining.
Well, isn't fentanyl synthetic? Isn't that a synthetic opioid?
I don't know anymore. I don't research a lot of the opiates anymore, but it wouldn't surprise me. And not only is fentanyl a pain medicine, but also an anesthetic and a hypnotic. So yeah, fentanyl is one of those that just really isn't the best thing to be giving anybody, but they give it mainly because they don't want to hear someone complain. They have a mandate. Doctors and nurses have mandates. When a patient is in pain, you at that point have to make them comfortable, or you're going to get complained about. And you worry about lawsuits. You didn't do enough. So they overprescribe. When I had my neck surgery, I blew my doctor's mind away. He sat there and he said, yeah, okay, we're going to give you this, this, and this. And I said, no, you're not. You know what you're going to give me? And I had a double fusion. Not exactly an enjoyable surgery. He just looked at me. I said, you're going to give me Motrin. And he broke out laughing. And he said, you are not going to survive with Motrin. And I said, watch me. I woke up and they gave me IV Motrin, and I was so happy. I felt great. I could manage certain pains. And because of the fact that before the surgery, because there was being nerves interfered with, because my discs were actually collapsing, I felt like I had a torch under my arm 24/7 for 3 months. So I was very relieved to not have that feeling anymore.
Right.
I was so relieved. So
there is a time and place for that heavy hitting pain meds, but
yes. But you and they need to gauge it more. I will not put down nurses and doctors. They do what they can do. They unfortunately they have to work off of the fact that they are always going to be worried that there's going to be a lawsuit. And that's a very hard life to live in. It's a paranoid life to live in. I was at one time going to become an RN, and I got reminded the reason I didn't want to be. And it came down to the fact all it takes is one person having a bad day and not agreeing with you.
Yeah, but as long as you're following hospital protocol and all your paperwork is correct, then you don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah, but it still is a lot of heartache. And that's when I decided I wanted to fly helicopters. I didn't have to worry about the drama of a person. I just had to worry about the mechanics of a helicopter.
There you go.
And to me, that seems simpler. But
what do they call helicopters? A conglomeration of a million parts rotating around an oil leak?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. But in some ways, I preferred that over the human body.
Oh, check this out. I got a new survey to share with you.
Go for it.
This is from our good friends at CBS. A new survey has found that a third of young millennials in the United States are not convinced that the Earth is actually round.
I saw that survey too.
A national poll reveals that 18 to 24-year-olds are the largest group in the country who refuse to accept the scientific facts of the world's shape. YouGov, a British market research firm, polled 8,215 adults in the United States to find out if they ever believed in the flat Earth movement. Only 66% of the young millennials answered that they have always believed that the world was round. Science teachers across the United States will be shaking their heads after learning that 9% of young adults answered that they have always believed that the planet is flat.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Another 9% of those young adults said that they thought the planet was spherical, but they had their doubts. In a disturbing display of indecision, 16% of millennials said they weren't sure what the shape of the planet was. Overall, only 2% of the respondents said that they thought the Earth was flat without any doubt at all. YouGov found that age was directly connected to Americans' views of the shape of the world. 76% of adults ages 25 to 34 say that they've always believed that the Earth is round, compared to 82% of ages 35 to 44. 85% of 45 to 54, and 94% of adults 55 and over think that have always thought that the world was round. Income. This is another connection that they made. They said income seems to play a role in people's belief as well. 92% of adults making over $80,000 believe that the Earth is round, compared to only 79% of adults making under $40,000.
Wow.
I don't know how the economics comes into that, but
I don't either. I just sit there and think, this goes back to, do the classrooms still have those globes?
Yeah, the round ones?
Yeah. I mean, even in my home, well, okay, do you remember National Geographic, the magazine?
Yes. Where you can
They
see all
used to
the
come with
African boobies and stuff in there.
Exactly. Hey, come on. Every kid, every teen's dream. It always came with maps, and it always showed, even though it was a flat map, it always showed the curvature.
Mm-hmm.
And then, National Geographic, it always showed good studies, but it always had, at least once a year, it had something in there about Earth and this, that, and the other thing. And I think that's the difference, is more and more, you don't see kids really getting into understanding what's out there on Earth the way you and I may have when we were kids.
I just wondered, are the parents even talking to these kids?
No, that I can tell you that they don't. They don't even know what's going on in their kids' mind. As long, they're too busy trying to be their friend, which is, we always say that. But the other part is, they're too busy worried about what their kid is doing on social media and talking about what they can and can't say, and rather than sitting there just throwing ideas out there and listening to what their kid has to say.
With all these crazy things that come out, I'm always talking to my kids. I'm like, hey, man, you're not getting wrapped up in this Tide Pod thing, or the stove burner challenge, and all these other stupid things. And they're like, no. I said, is anybody in your school doing that? And they're like, no. So I wonder where these kids come from.
Big cities. Not putting down big cities, but big cities. And it's usually because in the big cities, it is a different reality. It's a different train of thought, both as an adult and as a kid. You're looking for attention because you're one in how many people? When you're in a city, you feel small. You're this one being, and you look down the street and you can see hundreds of people. What makes you different?
Or you get a lot of, it's like, I think that especially here, my ex-wife used to be a teacher here, and, she had overpopulated classrooms.
Oh, yeah. That's just it. How do you... All right, I was brought up in the Midwest, and my class, when I graduated, was just a little over 300. Our classroom size, rarely over 20. Now they say kids' classroom size are 30s and 40s.
Yeah, my
I can't imagine one teacher trying to keep up with each individual kid.
Yeah, I mean,
He has to do what a professor does in college: preach to the masses, get to the bulk, and if the kids that slide through, they kind of let them go on anyway because their parents come in and bitch.
yeah, I graduated from a large. There were 3,000 in my graduating class,
Wow.
and I believe the world is round.
But when you and I grew up was a different day and a different age, as much as we hate to say that. I mean, there are some likenesses.
God, I hate to sound like that old guy going, these damn kids. But damn, these
great.
damn
Accept it.
But these damn kids.
Come on, start talking like you don't have your teeth in yet.
I'm not ready for that yet.
Yep, your dentures in.
Not ready for that yet.
It was so funny. I started realizing the differences back in my 30s or even in my 20s when I watched kids come into the military and they come into the infantry division, and the way they acted towards sergeants compared to when I acted towards sergeants. And that in itself, the military is usually a microcosm of the bigger picture of the culture that it lives within.
I believe that, yeah.
Okay. And so if you look at how rules had to change in basic training, how rules had to change in AIT, how privates address their sergeants, all of that. You can see that change. I used to get teased by the Vietnam vets that I was in with because I was in when there were Vietnam vets in. And they'd sit there and say, yeah, I remember when my drill sergeant could take me out back and kick my ass. I just sit there and go, I hate to tell you this. My drill sergeant could do that too, but then I agree with you because not too long after that, they stopped that practice.
Yeah, hands off leadership.
Hands off. And they said, well, when I went in, it was all male companies and all female companies. I said, yeah, I hear you, brother, because I was the last all male company on Dix.
Yeah, we had I think we were all male, and we had a sister company that was the females, much smaller.
See, when I was in basic training, they actually had women in the company. They didn't, and see, I didn't agree with. I think having male companies and women companies were smarter, but they actually had the women in the same barracks. I thought that was the biggest disaster there ever was.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to change, and you have to make adjustments.
Oh yeah, and when I was in, that's what you learned is you had to make adjustments, just like uniforms. What was the uniform when you came in?
BDUs.
Mine were fatigues. The good old green fatigues.
Oh, the solid green.
Yeah,
the Gomer pile.
That was my issue. And then we were not only issued Class A's and Class B's, but also khakis.
Before my time.
But you see, that's the fun part about the difference. Those differences were fun. But the other differences, I was given a chance to become a drill. And I called up some friends and I said, okay, what's the drill rules when it comes to privates and trainees? And when they sat there and they told me the rules, I said, no way in hell. No way in hell would I want to go there. Because they were actually allowed to sit there and tell you they didn't want you to swear. And I just went, A private is allowed to tell me I'm not allowed to swear? You're kidding me, right?
Oh, times they have changed.
Yes, they have.
That's all right.
Speaking of time,
It is about that time.
yes, it is.
Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, for kicking it with Kaz and Owl. We'll be back every Sunday at the same bat time, same bat channel.
And give half a second, unless you have it pulled up.
We have some guests coming up. We got on let's see, Tied Up Tuesday with Minx and Grey Cloud. Bob Regan's going to be here. He's from Operation Song. Mr. Regan is the CEO and executive director for Operation Song. He is a Grammy and Dove Award nominated songwriter with over 200 songs recorded by artists from Keith Urban to Roy Rogers. Operation Song's mission is to empower veterans and active duty service members to tell their stories through the process of songwriting. Their vision is to become the premier songwriting organization serving the active duty and veteran communities, to expand their programs stateside and overseas, and to train others in their model. Their goal is to establish Operation Song as a unique and viable treatment option using creative and integrative therapies to help individuals recover from the stresses of war and improve their quality of lives. That's going to be a good freaking show. And another good freaking show is going to be on Friday when we're going to have our special guest, Eric Stolhansky. If you don't recognize that name, he played Rabbit in Super Troopers. Actor, writer, and producer Eric Stolhansky, otherwise known as Rabbit from Super Troopers, will be back on the show to talk about the premiere of his movies that Super Trooper fans have been waiting for a very long time. Super Troopers 2, that will be released on April 20th. Super Troopers 2 is about a border dispute between the United States and Canada. The Super Troopers are tasked with establishing a highway patrol station in the disputed area. So that'll be, I think that's a theatrical release.
And I know for a fact that we have two fangirls, both Ice and Minx, are just going nuts over the thought.
Oh, it's great. And Minx is going to handle that interview. So she's got 2 home runs to hit out of the park this week.
Yeah, she does. Well, it was a nice sitting down and talking and kicking it with you. Thank you for having me.
Sure thing, man. So what's our show lineup look like?
Okay, our show lineup. Tomorrow is Monday, and that is Monday Night with Ice. That and all shows, of course, will be at starting at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Ice will be normally with Flash as his co-host. Then comes Tuesday, Tied Up Tuesdays with Minx. Minx normally at that point is with Grey Cloud, and they go through some fun conversations and points and current events. Wednesdays are game night. It's normally Ardonza, and at that time, it's time to play games with KJ and Hodor. Thursdays is Sergeant's time. Those active duty or non-active duty but have been retired sergeants, it's fun to listen to. Get up on the events of the military, active, and to just have a good time, sit and listen. Friday is again with Minx, Freedom Fridays. She will at that point be with Pookie, and they on Fridays just have a good time to sit back, relax, have a beer, and just enjoy the conversation. Excuse me, tongue-tied. Enjoy the conversation with them. Then comes Saturday Night Savagery with Jay Reddy and Pookie. Put on your tinfoil hats, get ready for a good time, and be ready to listen to everything that's going on us during the week. And then we're back to us on Sundays, kicking it with Cause. We're all about having a nice conversation, throwing out a couple laughs, and just trying to be positive.
And everybody, go and check out some of our sponsors, man. You always hear us talk about War Horses for Veterans. They're a really great organization. The War Horses for Veterans is a 3-day equine and networking experience. Veterans will have the opportunity to bond with horses as well as each other in a safe and very comfortable country environment. It's at no cost to the service member, man. You just sign up at War. You go to warhorsesforveterans.com. You fill out a little bit of paperwork, and they'll fly you out to Stillwell, Kansas. They'll put you up in a really nice hotel. They're going to feed you until you're stuffed, and you're just going to have a really great time. I can't say enough great things about those folks. And also go check out the Veterans Report. Go to theveteransreport.com. They're our partner. They're out of Pittsburgh, and they're a terrestrial radio station, KHB Radio, or you can go to khbradio.com. Or if you go on Facebook, facebook.com // The Veterans Report. Check them out. And we also have a Project Overwatch. Go to project-overwatch.org. The current political and societal climate is dividing our communities and ultimately our nation. It's Project Overwatch's immediate goal to energize support for law enforcement using the veteran and family member community. So go and check those guys out too. So I'd like to say again, thank you very much for tuning in tonight. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Shots.
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation.